May not be streaming. This is so frustrating. Let me send out a link to everybody once I get the link, because I gotta get into YouTube Studio to get the link. 21 streams, guys. We did 21 streams, and the last 3 streams have crashed. None of the previous streams crashed. None of the previous streams crashed, but the last 3 all have. And like nothing on my end changed. OBS was like still said it was streaming. Whatever. New stream link. Send it out. Put it over here. To new stream link. This is so frustrating. I don't know how many people are even in here at this point. I will I guess put the new link on Twitter like I always be doing every time the stream crashes. I thought I had it beat this time, guys. I thought I had it beat because I rebooted my computer before starting the stream. My computer has been acting a little bit weird lately because I recently updated from Ubuntu 18.04 to Ubuntu 20.04, which are both stable versions, right? But some of the device drivers seem to be acting weird. Like my network card, when my computer goes to sleep and then I wake it back up, my network card like doesn't come back awake. My Wi-Fi card still works, but not my like wired internet card. And I don't know what's going on with that. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, let me go on both Wi-Fi. Oh no, I am on both Wi-Fi and wired. Maybe that was the problem? All right, stream crashed. New link here. And I guess I'll put it out in the YouTube video too. So let me know in the comments, like, what I was saying right before the stream crashed, because I don't know how long I was talking when you guys like weren't actually hearing me. It could have been a while. It could have been a while. Stream crashed. Here's part 2. Yeah, I guess I'll call this one part 2. And maybe copy the title and some other junk over. Oh, jeez. This is just turned into a stream of me doing YouTube and social media posting. Although you guys can't see it because I don't really want to put my... Or wait, did I just name the part 1 part 2? I might have. Apparently I social media badly while I am streaming as well. I don't just code badly. All right, this is the last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to put in a description for the second stream so that people kind of know how to get here. Godot, Physics and Godot part 2. Save. All right. Let me get the little characters back up. All right, let me take a look in chat here and see if anyone can help me remember what the heck I was talking about. Like Nako says, I've helped my local church streaming services every Sunday, but I've seen no issues like this. I wonder what it is. Archnagos, I forget now. You can just continue from where you stopped. As I recall, you're talking about rotate and collide, but why is a rotate and slide method needed now, but not in standard Godot? So the why is rotate and slide needed here, but not in Godot? I think Godot, at the end of every physics process, will look at all of the physics nodes, see if some of them are physics bodies, not just physics nodes, because this doesn't apply to areas, but kinematic bodies, rigid bodies, static bodies, and it will see if any are overlapping, and it will push them outside of each other, just at the end of physics process. We are not going to do anything automatically. Our physics engine is not going to act until we tell it to act, because we want to make sure that it does everything in a deterministic order at a deterministic time. So I want to make it so that every time we're asking the physics engine to do something, we are explicitly asking it to do it. So now, yeah, that's why we need a rotate and slide where normal Godot doesn't have one. So, you know, I had just added the method signature. I had bound it. I copy and pasted move and slide to kind of replace move and collide, and I started talking about how we might implement this. So let me just finish converting this from move and slide to rotate and slide. Turns void. It takes beep. It takes radians as an integer, p rotation, which we are going to immediately convert into a fixed. We'll say rotation equals fixed p rotation. And then we're going to replace all this, which I'm just going to comment out so VS Code doesn't yell at me. Remembering. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so I was originally thinking that we would implement move and slide using move and collide, but I don't think we actually want to do that, because that would be like we'd rotate it some amount and then just like move and collide with a 0 vector. But I think what would be better would be to take this little bit at the beginning of move and collide where it tries to unstuck any stuck objects, which it needs to do for its algorithm to work, right? Because its algorithm assumes that where you are right now is non-colliding, and then where you're moving to could be colliding. And if you're colliding at both places, like the algorithm just doesn't work and you're stuck forever. So that's why this does this at the front. And we need to do basically exactly this, and only this in our rotate and collide thing. So I'm just going to copy and paste. I'll copy and paste a little bit more. I'll copy and paste the reference to the world and bring it down here. Okay. Beep. Until I'm using the Vim bindings. Wait, did I copy and paste it twice? Or like a bajillion times? What the heck happened? Okay. Let's copy paste once. Okay. And I'm missing the top part I wanted to copy and paste to. Okay, so first thing we want to do is rotate the body. And do we want to rotate it just at the physics engine first? I think so. So you want to rotate just the physics, the internal physics object, and then we'll check if it's overlapping, and then carry on from there. Aknakos, interesting to consider that. So what is AOE2? Oh, Age of Empires 2, what you're working on. Age of Empires 2 had deterministic method of multiplayer as well. I'm having a lot of trouble parsing the recordings because of that. Okay, so, right. So the first thing we want to do is we want to rotate our internal body. So the internal body has a transform, which we want to rotate. Can we rotate it in place? Does that return a reference? If it does, that would be convenient. Not a great API, but it would be convenient for us. Yeah, it returns a reference. Okay, so we can rotate it by our P rotation. And, or I'm sorry, not our P rotation. The rotation that is not the P1, the non-P1, the one that is converted to a fixed point number. Actually, let me look at this. Is there things that run on set transform that we need to happen? So set transform on collision object internal. When we call set transform, okay, it sets the other transforms as dirty. We probably shouldn't be returning a reference then here. Or no, it's not. It's not. It's not a reference, it's a copy. Okay, cool. I don't know why I thought it was a reference. I was like looking at the like hint over here and thought I saw the little ampersand for reference. Okay, so we can't do this. What we have to do is internal set transform, and we're actually going to make a new transform, which is a rotated version of the original transform. Okay, so this, why are you giving me an underline? Oh, rotated. There we go. Okay, so we've rotated our internal physics object. Then we were saying get best overlapping body, which gives us this overlap info, and I'll just show you this structure. Ooh, it brings it up right here. That's nice. The overlap info returns to us which shape we collided with, and the separation vector. Godot's version of the same returns like a lot more information, but I didn't feel like calculating all of that stuff, so I just calculated exactly what we needed. And we are not going to do 4. We're going to do max slides here. And this actually looks correct. So we're getting the transform. We are setting the origin, which, like we discovered last time, is different than translating the transform. Moving the origin is what we want. And then we're setting it. And then we are retesting if we are stuck. If we are not stuck, we break. Otherwise, we repeat. Ooh, so maybe we want to return here a bool if we are still stuck. Yeah, that would be interesting. Okay, so this information we actually don't need. This is in move and collide. If it's unable to unstuck the body, it just bails because the algorithm really just can't work if you're already colliding. But we are trying, max slides number of times, 6 times. And how about we tell the caller if we are still stuck, if 6 times wasn't enough, which means we're going to change this from a void to a bool. That seems like useful information to return. I was wondering before what the return value should be, and I think that's a good one. Okay, so rotate and slide. Let's re-look through this and make sure it still makes sense. So here's our rotation, our max slides. We are changing the internal transform. We are not updating the non-physics engine transform. We need to update also the transform on this node. So that was something we forgot. Can I do set global transform? I need a global fixed transform. Do we have a method for that? Okay, so what I want to do after we're done doing these changes and finding the right place for us to be is to take the transform from the physics object and set it on the node. The thing is, the transform on the physics object is a global transform, and the transform on the node is local, like it's relative to its parents. I think we did implement like a sync from physics engine method. What does that do? Let's go check it out. Sync from physics engine. Update fixed transform. Hang on though. Like, is this even right? Okay, so it gets the physics transform from the internal object. It gets the fixed parent. If it doesn't have a fixed parent, it just straight up updates its transform. Otherwise, it gets the... Okay, so this is right. Okay, it is. This is perfect. This is perfect, actually. This is the method we want, because it's taking the transform from the physics object, translating it to a local transform by multiplying it by the affine inverse of its parent's transform. That's good. That's beautiful. Hey, Nionel, welcome to the stream. What's cooking? Some deterministic network physics is what's cooking. And we're implementing our rotate and slide method here, which I think is right. Re-looking through this, I think this is right. Let's test it out. So we need to compile this, see if it compiles. And then we will update our GD script in the test app and see if rotate and slide does what we want, which is basically when we rotate the corner of our kinematic body over another body, it should just push it out immediately. Nionel says, yeah, it's been a while, but I'm glad I made it. I'm glad that you made it too, man. Welcome. Of course, C++ means a lot of waiting. A lot of waiting. It does give me a chance to check up on what's going on in chat, though. What are you guys working on? I haven't heard about your projects in a while. I guess, I heard about Aknakos doing the Age of Empires 2 machine learning thing, which sounds really cool. But what is everyone else working on? What game projects or other projects have you got going? All right, so we're going to modify this. So instead of just adjusting the fixed rotation, we are going to switch this to, I gotta get used to not typing with Vim bindings here. We're going to use our new rotate and slide method with negative rotation speed for this one, and rotate and slide with positive rotation speed here. And assuming we did not screw anything up. And we don't need to do this anymore because calling rotate and slide will sync to the physics engine automatically. This should work. Let's hope it doesn't crash disastrously. Or maybe let's hope that it does, because it's a more interesting stream. Okay, so I'm still moving around, and I'm going to rotate. Ah! Whoa! Whoa! What is happening? Okay, I can see what's happening. We are rotating in global space. We're not rotating in local space. So that is what we got wrong here. Let me see what's going on in chat. Hey, I remember that video I made years ago about learning Chinese on that weird website. Yeah. Had to water the plants daily, and then you went to a Chinese restaurant with your wife. That was a long time ago, man. I hope that Chinese restaurant is still there. It's a good place. It's fun to watch. Working on a puzzle game. Do you want to showcase when it's ready? Yeah. Anytime you want to share anything, I would love to see it. Show it. Cool. A puzzle game in the works. All right. So let's kill this instance of Godot here. I think I'm actually going to, since we know that the GDScript code is good, I'm going to switch my launch JSON here to launch directly the game in case we need to debug, run the debugger. So where were we working on this? This was in Kinematic Body 2D. And okay, so I think what we have to do is instead of directly rotating the physics body, we need to get a copy of the local transform. And do we want to directly modify the local transform? There's no harm in it. There's no harm in directly modifying the local transform. Because in the end, we're going to leave it in whatever state that we got it. So yeah, maybe let's do that. Let me see what's going on in chat. These kinds of bugs are what I came to the stream for. Thanks, Arburing. Alrighty then, now I'm more motivated than ever to push on. Yeah, now I want to see what you got. How's your Chinese going? I did not continue doing any Chinese after a short period of time. You're talking about a video that is probably on the order of 10 years old, right? I kept doing it for a little bit, but not 10 years worth of time. I'm trying to think if I did any other big language learning projects in the meantime. I'm not sure that I have. Oh man, I would love to be able to have more time to dedicate to different language learning endeavors or traveling. Like I haven't traveled anywhere since my kids were born. It's just, yeah, that's life, I guess. Okay, so we are going to modify the local transform, which is, I guess, fixed transform. And what's the best way to do that? Can we call rotate on it? Is that a thing we can do? That's a thing we can do. Let's rotate it by our rotation value. Why is it yelling at me? Why can't I do that? Member fixed transform declared at blah 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 is inaccessible. Oh, okay, so it's private to the parent class. Okay, so then we have to do okay, what I would like to have is our own fixed transform 2D here that we can just mess with. We'll call it T, because then I don't have to type very much. Although, actually, we're using T down here. That'll mess me up. But maybe we don't need this one? Because we could do all these changes on this top one. Let's operate on that assumption for a moment. Get fixed transform. Does that get it for me? Or does that give me... this is very confusing because we have these like internal and external objects. We have the ones that are internal to the physics engine and the ones that are exposed to Godot. And I always get confused on which one I'm working on. So this does return an internal one, so that's good. So we get the fixed transform. We are going to rotate it. So I can actually just do this. Then we are going to set the transform on the physics internal physics object, which we can do by calling get fixed transform. No, not get global fixed transform, right? I'm just going to quick take a look at, we had this like sync to physics engine object or method, which I think is on fixed node 2D. I just want to see all what it is doing to see if there's something I'm missing. Where's that method? Or no, it wouldn't be on node 2D, it would be on collision object. Sync from on sync to. Okay, so it's setting the transform and it's messing with the shapes. We do, I think, need to mess with the shapes, don't we? Or no, we don't. We don't, because the shapes haven't changed. Well, we'll find out when this doesn't work, if it doesn't work. So set transform, get global transform. I did hear that there were some comments. I'm trying to work through this to get to the point where we're compiling, and then I have to sit here for for a minute or two waiting for it to compile, and then I'm going to read the comments to try and make more efficient use of my time. I hope that doesn't seem rude to you guys. Okay, so we rotate it, we set the transform, then we get overlapping bodies. If we are overlapping, we don't need to get a new transform. We just need to move this one, and then we're not setting just this transform because this transform is local. We need to, again, get global transform. That'll make us a new global transform. And I think that's all we need. I think that's all we need to rotate in local space, but manipulate the physics engine in global space. And we already know that the sync from physics engine is going to convert from the global space to the local space. So let's try it. And I'm just going to watch here for a second to see if there's any compile errors. And if there aren't, I'll turn my attention to the chat. All right, it's linking. Good. No need for sorrow, David. We've had this awful pandemic for 2 years now already. Well, almost. I haven't traveled as well. Yeah, I haven't really traveled either, just not because of the pandemic. Although, I guess it's not that's not totally true. So before the pandemic, I would travel to different conferences and stuff for work, but it was never fun travel. I mean, I did have fun, but you know, it was for work. So I'm working 8-10 hours a day, not just going anywhere for fun. I haven't been back to Poland in a really long time. Loading. All right, here we go. Now I'm going to rotate to put it over the... It's doing nothing. Why is it doing nothing? Well, we have the debugger to help us. So let's drop into here. Where is the actual... Do I have some like old ones still left open? I do. Reload, I guess. Close you. You are an old build. All right, and I'm going to try and rotate, which should trigger this breakpoint. So, okay. We are getting the fixed transform. We're going to step over. Let's take just a peek at rotate. Wow, that is interesting. I'm sure that I copied this, verbatim from the Godot code for the same. I know that rotation is working in general. But this is interesting. So it's creating a new transform. And I'm not super familiar with this constructor. Okay, so this is a constructor that makes a rotation vector itself. Remember I was talking about, cosine sine, it goes cosine sine negative sine, and then cosine and then the position. But it's putting it at the origin. Okay, because we don't want to translate it. So we are modifying this matrix by this matrix. That all seems solid. I wonder if it's just not updating the visual representation. That's a possibility. Let's kind of step through this and see. Oh. So, okay, so we're dealing with this in local space. We're saying get global fixed transform, but we're not actually setting this. I think we missed a critical part here. We need to say set fixed transform. Can we do that? Why isn't it letting me do that? There's a method called that, right? What are you yelling at me, VS Code? Just tell me. Just tell me. Why won't you tell me? Just tell me what the squiggle means. Usually I just hover and it tells me. Come on. Okay. I'm just going to go look at collision object 2D and make sure that we have a... so this would be on the node 2D. Fixed node 2D. Update fixed transform? That's some internal thing. Get fixed transform, get global fixed transform. So is this something that we can call? Yes. Update fixed transform. We can call that, I think. Okay, so update fixed transform T, and now this should work. Then we set this origin, and we then have to also do update fixed transform T. And the reason we have to update it is because we're depending on this get global fixed transform to get the global version for us. And I wonder if, okay, yeah, because nothing will be synced to the physics engine until we tell it. Okay, I think this will work. That's what I said last time, and the time before that. But I think it will. Let's compile it. C++ nightmare. Yeah. I don't know. It's been fun working in C++. I haven't done this much C++ in quite a few years, and well, that's not totally true. When I was working on the WebXR module for Godot, that was all in C++, but it was like C++ that was interfacing with JavaScript code, and the C++ code was just like interfacing stuff. It wasn't doing anything interesting. All of the interesting code in the WebXR module for Godot is in the JavaScript side. Oh, Aknakos needs to head out. Thanks for coming. Catch you later. Okay. Oh, yep, because I have that breakpoint. Let's just disable the breakpoints for a moment and see if that just works. Oh, I need to hit continue. Hang on. All right, so I can move forward, and I can rotate around the global position again. What is happening? Why? Why is that the global rotation and not the... This was supposed to be easy. Rotate and slide was supposed to be the easy one. Okay, so get fixed rotation, and we rotate it, then we update it. Then we copy our transform to the internal physics object. We check if we're overlapping. Like, why does this just not work? Like, forget about this stuff. Forget about the useful thing over here. This should just work. Like, update fixed rotation. Or update fixed transform. We copy this in, we set internal, we set scale, we set rotation. We do these to update the Godot-ish stuff. Maybe we can just do this simpler. Like, we're messing around with these transforms, and that should work. This all should work. But maybe we could just be a little dumber. Because we know that the higher level abstractions are working, right? Because the original GDScript code was essentially doing set fixed rotation, get fixed rotation plus, and this will be p rotation here because I'm pretty sure that that takes an integer rather than, yep. And that was all good. And then sync to physics engine. And that's like literally exactly what the original GDScript code was doing. And then in here, we can also be very dumb and do set fixed position, although that's a much more annoying method to use because we need to like allocate memory for an object, which is why I don't want to use these high level abstractions. I want to just like mess with the transforms, but I guess that got me into trouble here. And we're like messing with the internal stuff up here and it worked fine. Okay. Internal, get transform, we move it, we set transform. That works fine because we're just modifying a global position by a global position. Okay, what if we do this dumb code here, but we keep the smart code for the second one? Because we know this already works. And I don't know why, like something in my mind is just like overlooking something very obvious. And I don't know what it is, because what we're doing should absolutely just plain work. So I need to put that piece of code back. I'm just going to double check that that's how it looked up here. Or no, it's internal get transform. Internal get transform. All right. The easy thing we're going to do real quick is, of course, the thing that we are stuck on. I should have expected that. Anything else going on in chat? Do you do software engineering for a living? I assume that question is posed to me. Yes. Although engineering might be a very fancy word for what I do. I mostly work on web stuff. So mostly things around the Drupal open source content management system. And I do some contract game dev work when it comes up. Like that project that I did for Heroic Labs with Nakama and Fish Game. Which is a nice thing about being self-employed. You can kind of just do whatever comes up. All right. Okay, we are now rotating correctly. And now we're going to test this. Hey, there we go. That is working as it should. That part is good. We are trying to rotate the corner of our tank over another body, and it pushes us away. Beautiful. So now driving around here, I will not ever intersect with the object, where when I was first showing this at the beginning of the stream, I was. And I'm not celebrating. Not yet. Because I don't know why the thing that should work didn't work. Let's close a bunch of these. And I'm going to stare at this code. We should be able to rotate, update it, and have that work. So what's happening in set fixed rotation that's not happening here? Set fixed rotation, we're doing this updating transform, we're doing set rotation, so that's the floating point rotation. Then we're on the fixed transform calling set rotation, the fixed point value of that. So get transform should return us exactly this, and then set rotation if we rotate a matrix that's already rotated, it should just rotate more, right? I think so. Change notify, fixed rotation. And then, so nothing here seems revolutionary. Maybe something in collision object in this sync to physics engine. Is it really maybe that the shapes aren't updating? But like we made that change last week, or maybe it was before the stream last week, to have the shapes keep their positions locally relative to the parent, so we wouldn't have to specifically move the shapes, that we could just move the body. And we're taking advantage of that actually in move and collide. It's like, what the heck? Does anyone see the problem with this code that I'm missing? I'm sure it's something really stupid. So we're getting the fixed transform. Great. We are rotating by the rotation. Also great. We are updating our fixed transform. And I don't know if this method is meant for us to call. I certainly hope it is. And then we're setting the internal transform from the get global fixed transform. Let me go look at this update fixed transform again, and I want to see how it's used. If I created it for some other purpose, and I'm just... Although honestly, like if you look at this, it's calling set fixed rotation. There really isn't any reason not to just do that. Okay, we're gonna keep the dumb code that we shouldn't need, but we do for some reason. And I'm gonna put a little comment to do, can't we do this by manipulating the underlying transform? Let me see if anyone told me in chat. The assignment of t in the loop helped, I think. Well, oh, you know what? The t outside the loop is actually different than the t in the loop, because this t is global and the other t was not, although it shouldn't have mattered. Or yes, it matters, because if the object's rotated, then its global space is rotated from its local space. I don't know. This works. This works. I will be back here, I'm sure. I'll be laying awake at night like, why didn't that work? All right. I see a bunch of, like, someone is stuck at the bottom of the screen with the little guys going here. We definitely need to add that button to, like, mix the little guys up again, because this seems to be a regular occurrence that someone's getting like stuck or pushed off the screen. Anyway, so we have our rotate and slide. What was the other thing we needed to do? Oh, collision masks, which once we get the data in should be like super easy. They're just literally integers that we and or together. But let's commit this to Git. I'm in my x16 project, not my retro tank party here. Status, let me make sure I'm on the right branch. Yeah, rollback physics. Let's look at the diff real quick, make sure I'm not leaving anything in there that is temporary or that I will not want to be in there. All looks good. Added rotate and slide to SG kinematic body 2D. That looks like a perfectly nice git commit. I am going to skip CI. I don't need to spawn a whole bunch of EC2 machines to build that little tiny change. And all right, let's look at how the Godot nodes, the Godot nodes are adding those collision masks. So that would be collision object 2D, where are its masks? Or is that somewhere else in the hierarchy? I might have to just quick look in the Godot docs. So Godot docs, we'll go to collision object 2D. Let's search for mask. Okay. What is its hierarchy like? Physics body, perhaps. Physics body 2D. Here we go. Collision layer, collision mask. Those are the two things we need to add. They're represented just as integers. And we have these nice get collision layer, get collision mask methods. Yeah, and these get collision layer bit are also very nice. Get collision mask bit. I think I will want to have that in our version as well. So that's where we need to look in the Godot code. Physics body 2D. And let's just search for these masks. Okay, so there are uint32s in the C++ end. And in the binding, I guess, is where we will see how they are declared to... No, that's interesting. I wonder what... Oh, here we go. Here's the properties. Okay, so this must be hint layers 2D physics. Perfect. So that is what is telling the editor to show the arrays of little squares. So it should be easy. This should be super easy. Let's go to... this would be our SG... SG collision object 2D. The methods we wanted to add are uint32t get collision layer, it's const, void set collision layer, takes a uint32p collision layer. These are such simple methods. Maybe we should implement. Well, no, yeah. I was gonna say maybe we should implement them in the header file, but they have to be. They don't have to be, but they're going to be compiled to code. They can't be inlined anyway because they're going to be bound. We certainly could put them here, but trying to do C++ as C++ers do. Get collision mask, set collision mask. This is p collision mask. And we just store this data. uint32t collision layer collision mask. I'm just going to double check that those are layer and not layers. I want this, yeah, layer. I want it to match completely. What is the layers property? Both collision layer and collision mask returns collision layer when accessed, upstates collision layer and collision mask when modified. That is interesting. I've literally never used that, so we're going to not implement it. And then the set collision layer bit, set collision mask bit, I really like those methods, so let's implement those as well. So void set collision layer bit, and I believe that was an integer and a bool. So we need to say which bit number and which, yeah, so just a plain old int. I don't think it matters to be a uint or whatever. It's just a number up to 7, 0 to 7. P bit and bool p enabled, I'll say. What's the variable name that Godot uses? Value. We'll copy Godot. P value. All right, and collision mask bit. Got to implement some methods, bind them, and it should be done on the node end. And then implementing on the physics engine end should also be very simple. It'll just be a matter of also storing those values and then anding them together when we're looping through bodies to compare. So, where should I put this? I like to put the methods in the CPP in roughly the same order as they are in the H file, so I guess that means that they are before the constructors. And what did I do first? Get layer. All right. Or here we go. We'll save a tiny bit of time by just copying and pasting this junk. VS Code has to have like some plugin somewhere that will like generate the code in the CPP file for me. That would be so nice. And I guess I just haven't looked through the library of stuff. If anyone who uses VS Code for C++ on a regular basis has any suggestions for plugins that I should be using, please let me know, as I do not regularly. I mean, I guess I do now. Now that we're working on this project, I'd be doing C++ all the time. Okay, so we have all those methods, and we're going to return collision layer, return collision mask. Oh, and the setters are also very easy. Collision layer equals p collision layer, and we will also in the setters have to update the physics engine objects, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Physics objects have to be ready to accept that data first. And then these, there's probably some clever way to implement this. We would like shift the value, the number of bits over, like a, we do like for int I equals 0 as long as I is less than p bit I plus plus, and then value over 1, or value, is there a equals version of this? Ah, what did I just do? I think I accidentally searched. Is this a thing? Is that an operator? No. Okay. What are you complaining about? Because it's a bool? Oh, because it's p value. Okay. P value. P value. And then we will say collision layer or equals, there is that operator. Or no, if we are enabling, we are ORing. We are, okay, whatever. I'm going to go steal this code from Godot. I could think through this, but I want to just get to the end here. So we want to OR when we're setting, and we want to and the inverse of this when we are removing it. So like, yeah, yeah, and this actually won't work at all if we are unsetting it, if we are falsing it. So probably this needs to start with an if value. I'm just going to go copy Godot's. Why create new what you can steal from a similarly licensed project? Get collision mask bit. Where is that set? Set collision layer bit. Okay, this one. Oh, I don't need to loop? My brain is like in assembly land, man. I'm like, so I've been writing that thing in 6502 assembly where you can only shift one bit at a time. I don't know what kind of craziness came over me that I don't thinking we need to shift. Yeah, this is easy. Probably everyone in chat's yelling at me, just shift by the amount. I wish the mod you're making makes it to the car, because physics and multiplayer might be essential in certain games. Well, so you can do physics and multiplayer with existing Godot and the existing physics engine. You just can't do certain synchronization techniques. Like you can't do rollback and prediction netcode with Godot's built-in physics engine. Have we lost like a lot of people on our screen here? There's only 4 left. But to do this particular type of netcode, we need this kind of deterministic physics. But you don't necessarily need to. I mean, I've made plenty of multiplayer games with Godot that included some kind of physics that didn't need a custom physics engine. All right, so this is simple. This is so simple. Yeah, anding the inverse of the thing over. It's what I said. Okay, we need to start with if p-value, then we are going to get the collision layer, and we are going to OR equals it with the p-bit shifted over by the, 1 shifted over by the p-bit, right? I didn't like totally screw that up in the translation. Well, whatever. We'll stick with this, and then we'll compare back to Godot just to. And then we need to and equals the inverse of 1 over by p-bit, shifted over by p-bit, right? That's what it did, I think. Physics body. Yeah. Oh, and I'm using the wrong operator. Or no, I am using the right operator. Ah. Okay, for some reason, like my mind thought I was doing that because again, I've been switching between languages too much, and the operator to do a bitwise inverse is not the same in every language. Okay. One more glance at it. Seems good. Oh, and like Godot, we actually want to set it. We don't want to just change it because we want this to travel to the physics engine. So we're going to say, because remember our setter for set collision layer is going to, or we can call it with itself. That shouldn't hurt anyone. But I don't know, it feels better to not uselessly set a thing. So we're going to just do uint 32t, and we'll just call it L for easy typing equals collision layer. And I'll say L set collision layer L and set collision mask bit. This should be the same thing, just with the collision mask. So we'll just copy and paste it. Collision mask, collision mask, M, set collision mask, M. Okay, that's good enough. That's enough for now. The get version of that is also a very nice method, but I'm going to resist the urge to implement all of that because we want to get down to putting this in the game. We've only got a half hour left. Okay, so what methods do we add? Set or get collision layer, get collision layer, get collision layer. I'll just do the quick, easy ones. Mask. Oh, this becomes set. We need to define the arguments here. So I guess this is collision layer. Set collision mask. Okay. That seems right. And then those other 2 methods, set collision layer bit, which we did bit and value, set collision layer bit, and then the mask version. Is that 5? Yeah. Okay. That seems right for binding the methods, and then we need to bind the properties. And then we are out of Godot land and into physics engine land. And I always forget, always forget the syntax for binding things, so I always have to copy and paste it from other places. Ooh, we'll even do the little group. That'll be nice. So So we'll go back to here. Okay, so this will make a collision group. So that's like a little drop-down thing in the properties in the property inspector in Godot. Collision layer, collision mask, and this is all exactly the same because we named them the same. Yeah. So let's just compile this. Compiling often is a good policy when working on C++ because if you get too far away from what you are working on, things can get confusing. So let's compile it, make sure there are no compile time errors. We'll check in the editor that our new properties are there, and then we'll move into physics engine land. Oh, I added an unused thing in the other implementation, the rotate and slide. So what's going on here? Juan Lenetsky is one clever guy, isn't he? Godot's lead dev. Yeah, he's a very clever guy. I haven't had the opportunity to chat with him in voice form yet. I hope to eventually. What icon do you have floating over there? Some kind of case? Are you talking about something on the overlay or in my window manager? Oh my God! Someone else is getting sucked into the bottom. We're losing everyone. We're losing everyone to the bottom of the screen. Okay, so let's jump over here, open up our test scene. So here we go, collision. There we go, layer, we don't have mask. Why is mask not present? Ooh. What? Okay, so we need to initialize this in the constructor. Another C++ thing that I frequently forget to do from not doing C++ very often. And where is collision mask? We have layer but not mask. There might be a message in the terminal. Set collision mask for property, set collision mask. Okay, so maybe I did the binding wrong for that. Let's take a look. SG collision body. No, we want collision object CPP. Okay, so yep, I forgot to change the end of this one, and that's probably why the mask isn't showing up because it's the setter is invalid. And we added these new methods, which something that I would do if I was doing C++ more often is remember to add them to the constructor to set them to 0. Or actually, no, the default shouldn't be 0. The default should be 1, because that's the default in Godot when you first create a body or area. Let me just verify that this one is doing it by also doing it in the constructor. No. We need to get to physics, body, 2D, the constructor. Yep, also setting them layer and mask to 1. So, good. Let's kill this. Recompile. I'm kind of starting to like the rhythm of like compiling and then checking chat and then going back to doing things. I mean, the little floating pic with my name below. Yeah, so yeah, yours is like a long-haired orc with like some sort of studded armor. That's a pretty cool one to get. Got that sort of Elsa braid going. You can tell I have daughters that my first thought is about Elsa. I got a sort of Viking-looking person with no pants and some braids and some studded kind of shoulder thing going there. All right. So now we should see both layer and mask. They're both automatically set to 1. Beautiful. Not random values that happen to be in memory at the time. All right. So next step is getting that data over into the physics engine. I can't believe it has taken us this long to get through these easy things. This is what C++ does. You're like, I'll just throw together these two little tiny things, and an hour and a half later. All right, so we need to get into the internal physics objects. That would be, let's just get close so that VS Code will show me. Here we go, SG bodies 2D internal, that's what we want. And these should also have uint 32s for collision layer and collision mask. And we need to set them somehow. I don't know that we will need to get them, but this can all be inline. This can all be inline. So force inline. So say void set collision layer uint 32t p collision layer. Collision layer. Why aren't you auto completing that one? There we go. P collision layer. And get collision layer. This will be const return collision layer. Do the same for collision mask. That looks about right. Why are you yelling at me? Oh, because I typed void. Typed void uint 32t. Copy and paste coding. Gone awry. Okay. These will also need to have the constructor zero them out. And I think here I actually do want them to be 0, because I don't want them to have any value until the controlling object tells them to have a value. I hope that doesn't come to bite me later. But we'll roll with that for now. So let's go to we want to get back to our SG collision object 2D CPP. And now in these setters, we want to just pass on the value to the underlying physics object, the internal physics object. So set collision layer, and then here do the same collision mask, of course remembering to change with method we're using too. Okay, so that will get it to the physics engine. Oh, I think I also need to do the thing in here where there's this method that you have to call every time a property is updated. It's like change notify, collision layer. Those are double quotes. Again, I'm switching languages way too often. I like being able to make strings with single quotes. Feels good. Collision mask. Yeah, so this change notify tells the editor to update that property. Otherwise, you call this set here somewhere in C++, and no one will see that it has changed in the editor. So that should be good. And now we just need to have the part where we're looping over which bodies or areas to, or this is only bodies actually. No, this is bodies and areas, yeah, because the way I've set up the hierarchy in our physics engine is that both descend from collision object. Godot has them not share too much stuff on the hierarchy. That has the physics body, 2D, and then kinematic, static, whatever coming off of that, and area coming off of Godot's version of collision object, which does not have masks. So we are going to go into the thing that's looping over them, I think, is SG World. SG World. Yeah, so it does. Right now, we only care about bodies, but you know, something I didn't think about until just now. What kind of directionality is there between collision layers and collision masks? Do I need to check both directions? So I need to check that the thing I'm trying to collide with, its mask anded with my layers equals 1, and if so, do the collision. But do I need to do the reverse too? Do I need to do both? I'm actually not sure. Well, we'll have to see what Godot does, because whatever Godot is doing is what Retro Tank Party is expecting. And so we need to match that behavior. Otherwise, we're going to have less fun when we're actually porting to this physics engine. So, okay, we'll start simply here. We have our object, get its collision layer, and, or we're going to want to knot this actually, because we are going to want to bail. We're going to decide which objects to skip. So we're going to say knot our collision layer and the other collision mask. Continue. So if our collision layers do not match the other's collision masks, then we skip it. And we want to do the same for areas up here. So I'll just copy that up there right away. And we need to check Godot's code to see if it does this in both directions or just one direction. Because I'm not sure. And where would that be in Godot's code? Well, we can start with test body motion in, what would that be? Physics 2D server SW, I think? Or no, that's in space. That got me part of the way there. Nope, that doesn't do what I think it does. Ah! Let's get back to test body motion. And we'll control click it. Okay, let's see if it tests masks in here. Test collision mask. Ooh, that is a very helpful method to have. Let's see what it does. It does do it in both directions. So it tests the current object against the other's mask and the other's layers against our mask. Cool. I'm very happy that that question was very easy to answer. The physics code in Godot is quite complicated and spaghetti-like and tangly and hard to dig through sometimes. All right. So where was that? That was in our world internal object. So we need to go both ways. It is kind of nice to have a method for that. So maybe we'll make a method for it too, just like how Godot has. And we can even inline it. So force inline, oops, it's 1 underscore not 2. Force inline bool test collision layers, maybe. SG collision object 2D internal. The object SG collision body internal. P other. This actually doesn't depend on anything in this class. Can we make it static? Is Godot's one static? Oh, because it's done. This is on the collision object. Maybe that's a good place for it. I was going to put it on the world. Godot put it on the collision object. Kind of like how Godot's doing that. So let's go to not here. Go to collision object 2D internal, which has the masks, which makes sense. It has the mask data, so let's do the test here. So it was test collision layers. I don't know what Godot called it. I'm going to call it layers. That feels good to me. And SG collision object 2D internal P other. And this is const. So we can use it in some of those const loops that we have going. And we're going to say return collision layer and p other collision mask, or p other collision layer and collision mask. And I'm always paranoid about precedence because that's another thing I always screw up when I'm going back and forth between languages. So I'm going to put those in parentheses. And that looks good. So now we can use that from our SG world internal, which should make this check even simpler. We'll say if not p object test collision layer against p or against other, then continue. And we'll copy that up to the area get overlapping areas method as well. So get overlapping areas, get overlapping bodies. I thought there was one more. Get best overlapping bodies. So this is the other looping over bodies and comparing them method. This is actually the one that we're using right now. I don't know why I didn't do this one first. These other two, the get overlapping ones are for areas, and then this get best overlapping body is used for collision between bodies, at least in our physics engine. Okay, so this should work. Let's test it. To do that, we're going to change the launch JSON to open the editor again. So, or it actually is already set up to open the editor. We're good. Because we want to modify our scene to set up the collision layers in such a way that we can see if they're working or not. And of course, my Chromebook went to sleep. Come on, Chromebook. You can do it. Come back to life. And of course, it disconnected me from Restream. Oh, but it looks like, at least unless this is incorrect, that no one's been commenting. Is physics just so boring? No one has anything to say? Yeah, this project has been intense. I never thought that I would be working on this for, I don't know how long it's been, like 10 weeks or 12 weeks or however long it's been. The physics part of this for me has been the hardest because the network stuff, I'm really good at network stuff. I understand network stuff. Network stuff is like where I live. I live in netcode. Physics is like very tricky for me. All right, so, oh, hey, I still have this called area. I remember someone at the last stream suggested I should change it to be called static body because that's what it is, which I'm going to do now. Okay, so let's just make sure, first of all, that these have sane layers and masks. So these should both collide, the static body and the character. So let's do our base test here. We'll save, and we will make sure everything is still working as before. It is clearly not. All right. What is happening, do you think? I guess this is when we're going to step through in the debugger. Let's switch our launch JSON here. And switch to run directly the app. You know, it's funny, as the person streaming, I get really frustrated when things like don't work, and I just kind of feel like an idiot. But when I'm watching other people's streams, because I do like watching dev streams, lately I've been watching this guy who streams NES development, because like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm like really obsessed with 6502 assembly right now. I like when things go crazy or go wrong or there's something to debug. Like that's what I'm watching it for. But when it's me, I always feel like I'm being judged. My developer cred. Let's start Let's start at the bottom rather than the top. We'll go to where we are looping, and we will see what the values look like right before the comparison is made. This will get called a million times, so let's actually disable breakpoints right until, oops, we are about to have a collision. So I'm gonna, why am I not moving? Okay, here we go. So I'm right before a collision. Now I'm going to re-enable breakpoints, and then I'm going to step into the collision. All right. Oh, and we still have our old breakpoints. Let's remove that one, move on. Okay, so here we are. We have two bodies. Everything should have the collision layers all set to 1. So this like really should just work. Oh, but this has the collision layers set to 0. Why on earth is that? Are setter methods never getting called? Okay. So let me just make sure that that's the same thing going on over here. Yep, both objects have their layer and their mask set to 0. So let's go to the nodes and make sure that we are actually doing this. Okay, where are the nodes? Where are the nodes? Take me to your nodes. So let's set breakpoint here. I would have thought that when the scene was being loaded, it would call all the setters. And the setters would, of course, set them to 1, because that's what's saved. But that appears to not be the case. So I think we actually need to start over, because there's no reason for these setters to be called in the middle. Let's relaunch the game and just see if those get called. Ooh, I gotta re-enable the breakpoints. Okay, what's going on in chat? I saw some stuff, or heard some stuff, I guess I should say. Like, I'm in a way serious here. You might actually consider making a good course about it. A course about physics? I don't know, man. I would not have fun. I've considered making a course about networking and netcode because I'm good at netcode and I have fun doing netcode, and physics I can do to a passable level, but like is really draining for me. Hey, ddizzle77595, you are a spam bot. So are you, Wydroller and D Hamataro. Get out of my stream. You might have made some cool characters though. What characters did you make? I kind of like the Conan the Barbarian looking guy. Elliot says, I just didn't want to distract you from getting it across the finish line. What? I'm not sure. Maybe you said it like in reference to something I don't remember from a while ago, but I'm not sure what you're referring to, Elliot. I know, when others fail, that's ego boost. When you fail, it's ego drop. Maybe that's right. Maybe that's right. But it's still fun, like, even when someone else is having a bug and I don't like know what the answer is, like watching them debug through it is fun. Anyway, so we launched this, and the breakpoint never happened. So our setter is not happening. Why is our setter not happening? I think I know what it is. So Godot, when it's instancing a scene, will not call the setter if it's set to the default value. And these are on the default value. So I knew this was going to come to bite me later. Making the collision, the internal collision objects default to 0, and the others default to 1. Let's go set those to 1, and then to make sure that the setters are actually working, we will change the values to be like 2 or something, and make sure it still works. SG bodies internal. We'll just set these to 1, which of course will fix it whether the setters are being called or not, because now it's going to default to the value that we need. But I think this will also work when we change it to different values. Okay, so let's compile, see what happens. I'm going to get rid of our breakpoints because we don't need them at this point. What if I don't want to be famous? Yeah, there's a song that's on the radio I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's like Get Famous, where the basically the gist of the song is the guy doesn't like somebody, so he's wishing that they get famous because being famous is terrible. It's like a curse. A pox on your house. You get famous. All right. Let's go here. Come on, pick up the speed. Oh, we only have like 5 minutes. Jeez, the time flies. Okay, so they collide. All right, so we knew that was going to work. Let's go back to launching the editor, and then we'll test if that really works. Now Nell says, and you, David, want to get famous? I mean, not real famous. The level of famous that I had with my language learning channel back in the day would be nice for my game dev channel, because it's nice to have a community to collaborate with and people to share my ridiculous projects and thoughts with. But like beyond that, no, that's good. That's good. All right, so we're going to test this by switching everything to 2 and give that a shot. If it still collides, then we're good. I just noticed something weird in this scene. What is this? Oh, that's the static body, and then this is the shape. Okay, cool. That's not a problem, just weird. All right, and we're still colliding with everything set to 2, which I think is working. I guess we don't have a negative case, because what if they're not being set, but underneath they're both still set to 1? So let's try making it so they don't collide. Let's set that. Set them so they don't collide. So let's think this through. Let's do this the way we would really do it in a game. We're going to have the static body be set to layer 0, which I usually use for my environment layer, which actually I think that's what it is in here, actually, because this is still Retro Tank Party. Yep, environment. And it collides with players, as we expect. And then players will exist on the player layer. And then usually I don't give the player a mask. I let other things mask the player. So this is how it's set up in real life. Let's make sure it still works. And then let's do a negative case. Let's change it so it shouldn't work. So I'm going to say this static body, I'm going to not mask players. Static body, don't collide with players. It's not what we want. And there we go. Seems to work. We have working collision masks. And can I change these at runtime? I think so. Oh, the debugger is not working because the debugger is currently connected to Stream Tools. I started Stream Tools in a weird way this morning. Yeah, this morning. It's still the morning. Cool. So let me put this back to a way that works. So when I come back in here, I am not confused. Static body has a mask with the player. Let's double check again that it works. And I think, unfortunately, guys, we're probably going to have to say that this is the stream. Ooh, our slide is working a little weird on the circle. Circles are weird, though. Like, give me a normal for any point on that circle. Like, just logically. And it's kind of a weird proposition. Maybe we're going to have to fix the move and slide for circles a little bit. Anyway, what's going on in chat here? Of course, the time flies. You were learning Chinese 10 years ago already. Our Burring says, nice, nice. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking nice. So the 2 quick things that I wanted to do before we started like really trying to convert the game turned out to be the only things that we did. But I'm happy that they worked relatively as we want them to. And we're in a good place. I don't feel like any of this code is terribly bad. Sometimes there are those streams where like we get something and then afterwards I'm like, I'm just gonna throw all that code away because it's terrible. I definitely did that for one stream where I just threw everything away, and then other times, like usually I just go back and like fix things up. Like, oh, that was stream brain right there, making some weird decisions. But let's commit what we've got. Did we? I know we did the collision layers. Did we do other things in here too? No, I think that's pretty much it. Git commit A. Let's do added collision layer and mask. Layers and masks. That sounds better in plural to me. And let's push it. Skip the continuous integration. So what are we ending on? Oh, we're a minute early. We can chat for a minute. Anyway, it was really great stream. Thanks everyone for coming. I think next week we will pick up again with trying to integrate this into the actual game. I'm so happy that we're getting to that point. There's really only 2 things missing from the physics engine before we can like really just say like physics engine's feature complete enough to do Retro Tank Party. And those 2 things are raycasts, which should be simple. Should be very simple to implement a raycast. Because raycasts in Godot, at least raycast 2D, and I think 3D is the same, aren't actually raycasts. They don't go infinitely in a direction. They have a length. So it's actually just like a segment cast. And I know the math for that already, because I've already basically done the math for that in different parts of the physics engine already. And the other thing that we need to implement is a broad phase, which is going to be nice for me because it doesn't involve very much trig. It's more of a systems level thing. So if you don't know what a broad phase is in a physics engine, like right now, the way that we are finding collisions is we are literally looping over every body in the world. So we have our world object here. We're saying get best overlapping body. We're looping over every body. So every time you do a collision check, you're looping over every single body in the game. A broad phase allows you to only loop over the bodies that are nearby, which is a huge performance boost. And all physics engines have a broad phase, at least like real serious ones. And so we need one too. There's a bunch of different ways to implement a broad phase. One is with a quad tree, which I really like. Quad trees are very elegant. And my book, my game physics cookbook, its recipe for the broad phase is a quad tree, and so like I'm confident that I could implement it. However, Lucas, who hangs out on the Discord and is sometimes at streams, I don't think he came today. It's not enough eyeballs for him to be hiding in there. He sent me some really great videos and articles about doing grid-based broad phase, which actually is what Godot does, at least in the 2D engine. It does a grid-based broad phase, which is basically you break up the space into grid cells, and then you say, you know, all of these particular physics entities exist in this grid cell. So before you start doing your looping to do the real collision, you basically say, get all of the bodies that are in the grid cells that contain the 2 bodies that I'm testing, if it is 2 bodies. I guess in this case, you probably just have 1 body, and you're saying, what are the collisions? So you're taking your 1 body, you're grabbing all of the shapes that are in the same grid cell as that body, and looping over those to test the collisions. So that was a very long way to say there are 2 big things we need to implement in this physics engine before we can put it to sleep, hopefully for a long time, so I don't have to do any more trigonometry, and that is raycasts and a broad phase. So next time, I don't think we're going to be working on those 2 things. I guess it depends on how much I get done on the game between now and then, but I think probably we're going to be focusing on just integrating this into the game, and then when we hit the bits that need raycasts, we'll implement those, and when we see how terrible the performance is, we will implement the broad phase. So that's all I got. Thanks again, everyone, for coming. It was a great stream despite us not getting terribly far. And yeah, if you want to hang out, I don't know if anyone who is here is not on the Discord, but join the Discord. The link is in some direction towards the bottom of the screen. And yeah, see you guys next time. Take care. Or wait, I just heard some beeps. Let me see what the last words are. All right, no important questions were asked. Catch you guys next time.